Hi guys, my name is Erica. I'm a wife, mother of two, who is constantly questioning why people don't do things the way that I do.
And I'm Sana. I'm a carefree single mother of two who believes curiosity never kills a cat.
And together, we
We
are
are
sisters
sisters.
with a Y. First of all, welcome to our very first episode on our very first podcast. We are really sisters.
Not religious,
Even not that we're not religious, but
which
well,
we're not.
We're not really, but and we do question things quite often. I think the reason we started this was because we do tend to talk a lot about people.
Yes, and pretty much question what they're thinking and why they're thinking it. So we decided, hey, you know what? The best way to know this answer is let's ask the world. So,
Maybe everybody thinks
yes.
the way we think, or maybe everybody criticizes other people, not necessarily criticize, but judge in not always a bad way.
So it came this year, the word perception became very important, I guess. It's the first time that I realized that there's this word perception and that everybody can see the world in an actually different way. I think once you start talking and saying maybe like, why is she living her life like that? Why is he doing this? And suddenly people tell you like, God, you're being so mean. Why are you being so mean? It came to my mind like, hey, what? What do you mean? Is everybody not thinking this?
I think people constantly want to hear or say they want to hear honesty, but they don't necessarily want to hear your honesty. They want to hear the honesty that they want to hear. And because of that, then we can't always tell them to their face what we're thinking about the way they choose to live their lives. So we have to tell each other.
But yet, honesty is the best way to go, right?
But we should also say that Sana and I, in very many ways, also think very differently.
Yes.
We don't have the same views about our parenting, about the way we, certain aspects of our lives.
Yes. So,
but we do both still feel that we can change other people's lives for the better if they started thinking the way that we think.
We believe we both have the same goal of getting to a place of raising better human beings and becoming better human beings. We have different tactics of how to reach that. But we think, hey, if you just followed hers or mine, you would get to the right place.
You'd have better kids. You'd have a better life.
Which we've fallen and gone up, and in the end, I think that's what, as humans, I believe we're here to fall and get up and be able to catch the other person before they fall twice as hard.
And sometimes I think the problem is too that we don't just judge other people's lives. A lot of the times we judge our own. I feel like we're constantly judging our own lives as well. But maybe that's what makes us in some way better people.
Yes, we will yell at ourselves first. We will laugh at ourselves first, and we will be critical about ourselves before anybody else. We do look at ourselves. We do look at our lives. And even though it's hard, we are able to say, hey, we messed up doing this. But that's what life is about. Learning what you're doing wrong to then change it. We just want to be the voice of reason to everybody else's life. And be like, hey, you know what? I heard myself tell myself, hey, you messed up. Do this right. So let me tell you.
And we are both very self-aware.
Yes.
I think the world would be a much better place if people were more self-aware. We'd have people raise better kids, better human beings. I think we'd have relationships last longer. I think we would have less overweight people if people were self-aware. I think that is such a hard thing to do. I don't know how or why it happened to be that we both have it. I don't know, because not all of our siblings have it for sure. So I don't know if it's something that my mom created or if it just happened to be that we are, because we definitely
are very self-aware. I think we are self-aware because I think my mom was the first one to say, "Hey, let me tell you what's wrong with you."
Yeah.
And at a very early age. So I think we grew up knowing exactly what was wrong with us. With age, we learned what was right with us. Mm-hmm. That was a learned process. And I hope that my children don't grow up knowing what's right with them till they hit an older age. But at this point, there's a balance. This is what's wrong, but this is also what's right. So then let's try to accept both and fix both. There's a quote that says, and I had to learn this, and this is how I go through life. If I'm able to accept negative comments, I'm able to accept positive comments. But I will only take a minute dwelling on the bad comments, as I will only take a minute praising myself with the good comments.
And it's always a lot easier, and I think this is probably why a lot of people choose not to be self-aware, is because it's a lot easier to be down on yourself than it is to praise yourself. And while actually no, I think there is some people who have no problem praising themselves and then just don't realize what they're doing wrong. But I do feel that as self-aware as we are, I think it's always been really hard, and that has something to do with the way we were raised. It's always been really hard for us to take compliments.
Yes.
I think we always joke about it, or if someone says, "Oh, you're really good at this," it's like, "Yeah, but I'm really bad at this," and we can't just take that compliment and go. So hopefully, and actually, I think I was gonna say hopefully our kids are better at taking compliments than we were, but I think I already know that they are, because I think our kids are definitely fuller. They're full of themselves a lot more so than we were.
Yes, and it goes with showing that we try to do the opposite and raising them with better, more positive comments than negative comments. And also, wow, this new age where there's so much effort put into being more confident, being more loving to yourself. And we took that a little bit overboard with our kids.
I think it has been taken overboard just by
in general.
Millennials, for example, just feeling like everything should be handed to them because they're worth it. And that's because we spend years implementing self-worth, and which is great, but it is a little overdone, I feel.
Difference between self-worth and entitlement.
Yes, they definitely feel entitled, and that's where it's I think a little much. We should maybe also let everyone know that we are not millennials.
No. We're a little past.
We are also not baby boomers, so we're not retired. We're not in retirement age.
We're that mid generation. I think we're that generation though that learned self-worth. That learned I'm not like my parents where everything is, this is how it is, it's black or white. And we're not so much in the rainbow era, well, the gray area, but we're in somewhere there where we're trying to be a little bit more free with our thoughts, a little bit more confident, a little bit more liberal, but we're the in-between generation and raising millennials, or not even.
Yeah, I don't think our smaller ones are millennials. I have a millennial, and he's in certain ways definitely a millennial, but in other ways he's not. No. He's not the let me live at home until I'm 57 type of millennial. But he is very green and earth friendly,
which is good. Those are certain things that at our age are picking up, and I love it. I love that we can learn certain things from them, but we still have this responsibility. I think our generation has this. I need to be responsible. I need to be able to pay a rent. I need to be able to pay, a car. I can't get a brand new car. There's so many things that maybe restrict us. That's why we also don't have the best of the best, and we're not at where we can be, because we believe this is what I need to settle for.
But we learn to live within our means.
Yes.
And I don't think the younger generation has, at least the millennials haven't learned that just yet, but that's because most of them stay at their parents' house until they're 57.
Yeah.
So.
And they shouldn't. So, and I think that's a great thing. We both, I don't agree with your child living there past 18 at home, just because I feel that they need to learn to be responsible. I lived at home till I was 20 something, but then moved out and was always responsible. I was raised to know you have to pay rent, you have to pay bills, you have to pay for whatever you're wearing and doing. And I think that's the hard thing, that there's friends of ours that are mothers and that are okay with their children living there till they're ready to go. So when are they ready to go if you don't kick them out?
But I think that's also in a selfish way as parents when they keep their kids around forever. And I'm not talking about the parents that keep their kids, in their 20s, even 30s, if they're still in school or they're, away for college, whatever it may be. I'm talking about the parents that keep their kids until they're in their 40s. And that's definitely more in a selfish way. I truly believe that when parents do that, they do it because they don't want to be left alone. They're not thinking about, they purposely, I feel, don't teach their children responsibility because they know that if they do, that kid is going to leave them. And that would mean either that they're going to be left alone or that they're going to be left with a significant other that they don't want to be left alone with. That is what I feel about those parents.
Maybe. I think it's
but again, maybe not. Maybe people view it differently.
And that's what we want to know. What is the other way of seeing
what is normal? And
what is normal?
Yeah, and is there really a normal? Is there not a normal? Are we normal? Or are we the ones that are looking at things in an odd way? Maybe nobody else thinks this way. Maybe the other view is the normal view.
Of keeping children. Well, I've heard a lot of parents say, I keep my child because I'm gonna help them out. And we do have the parents' guilt. The guilt of how am I gonna let them out in the world if they're not ready? Well, we have 18 years to get them ready.
Yeah, true. And you really don't. I think people always say, oh, when they're 18. When they're 18, nothing happens. Nothing changes. I feel that should truly be changed to 22, 23, even 24, 25. Because technically, if you send them off to college, they're going to be an undergrad for 4 to 5 years. They're still going to be your responsibility for those 4 or 5 years. I think it's after that's done that they no longer become your responsibility, or they no longer should be your responsibility. They should be their own responsibility.
But at that point, at least we send them off to college and they could at least learn how to set their alarm clock, saying that this is your choice. You're in school, you have to learn how to get up and make it to school.
And I think that starts at a young age. And again, this is probably where we see things a little different. But they asked me the other day, how Carly wakes up. I think we were talking about this yesterday, like how my daughter wakes up and she wakes herself up. She's been waking herself up since she was in elementary school. That this has been her responsibility for a few years now. It's just, to me, that's part of you learning that. My son did the same thing. It's you have to wake yourself up. That's my responsibility is to get you to school safely. My responsibility is to make sure that you're fed breakfast, that you're wearing the appropriate clothing, things like that. You should learn how to wake yourself up at a young age.
And I don't. I wake my kids up and I go through the whole screaming and get up. And then, of course, I sent one of my kids without breakfast, and the other one is eating a hot pocket.
And then one of our kids did get to school once wearing no underwear.
Oh, yes.
So
yes.
that
tells you a little bit.
That'll tell you a little bit about our differences. I think people would consider me a little more type A.
Yeah,
I don't know that I consider myself type A, but I'm definitely more of a planner. I still sometimes pick out my children's clothing. I dressed both my kids probably until about the age of 7 or 8, and then they were allowed to go ahead and be free and change, dress yourself. But at that point, hopefully I was able to trust that they were going to put on underwear.
And she implemented her fashion style onto them by that age.
Yes, I do. I've been told by Sana that I kill my children's
soul.
Yes. Their sparkle. Yes, you probably will not. Well, maybe when she gets older, but you probably will not catch my daughter wearing rainbow colored leggings with
but I will say that as soon as her son got to college and lived on his own, he let his hair grow and he wears socks of different colors.
Yes, his socks don't match.
He's finally able to be himself.
He still will not wear rainbow colored leggings.
He might not have underwear on now.
But yes, this is once they're old enough that they can go ahead and live all that out. And I will say that if I ask my children, I have asked my children what it is that they feel they were deprived with, and my son's answer was not being independent, not letting him be independent, like dress himself and do all those things. And my daughter, apparently her trauma was that I never allowed her to carve a jack-o'-lantern.
And why?
Because it's a mess. It's a mess. Let's let our pumpkins be pumpkins.
And she doesn't. She puts Vaseline so they can look shinier. But I will wake up my children, but I don't believe
they definitely show their sparkle.
Yes. I give them choices from where to choose. There cannot be sagging pants or anything that's too inappropriate for their age. But color-wise and stuff, and yes, and I let her dress herself, and I trusted that she wore underwear. When I got a call that she didn't have underwear, because of course she's the kind of person that went into the office yelling, "I forgot my underwear." We laughed. I don't feel that was something to be scolded for. My mom told me I should have scolded her for that.
Yeah.
But hey, the only one that was uncomfortable there was her. Nobody else. And as soon as she felt uncomfortable, she let the whole school know. So yes, my daughter is known at school. And maybe as the girl who was not wearing underwear. And she is 6 years old. She's not this 13-year-old girl going in there screaming this. But I'm more free, more lenient. I don't think certain things need to be taken so seriously. At the end of the day, it doesn't show how smart you are or what you can do with your life because you choose to wear rainbow clothing or
basketball shorts.
Or basketball shorts, because jeans are very uncomfortable. And I don't
shoes. I think her
yes.
I think her son didn't wear shoes for a while.
and yes, and my daughter showers outside. But there's certain things that I do not fuss about. As long as they are both getting good grades at school and they're moving along. And also, I have thoughts with testings and all these things, but we'll get that one day.
And I'm a little more, let's keep everything regulated.
There's rules and regulations.
There's rules and regulations
and
for a lot of things.
And anyone will tell you that it's very hard to just go and say, "Hey, Erica, let's have a coffee," or "Let's go to your house.
Get together.
Or "Let's get together," because she has a planner. And it has to be written.
I wouldn't if I didn't have so many things to do, but there's a lot of things to do. There is a lot of things to do. And I do believe that maybe life would be a little easier if I didn't regulate so many things. But
she wouldn't know what to do with her.
Yeah.
If life was easy. And then maybe that goes to the same thing. If everyone cannot just live easily. Sometimes when you have too much of a good life, if things are going too well, if you're not stressed, and I'm not saying I'm not stressed, I have other issues going on right there. But if people don't see themselves stressed or with a bad experience, somehow then it's also not good. It's also not good to have a good life. Mm-hmm. It's also not good to not worry, to not care. And it's also the number one lesson that I try to learn is to not care. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, we do all believe that you can live your life however you want, as long as you're happy. So when we do talk about other people, it's mainly because they're not happy.
But it is also very hard for us to believe that people are happy.
Yes.
We never believe anybody's happy.
I don't know what we expect it to look like.
That has a lot to do with our childhood, but
yes.
I don't know that we ever believe that someone's happy. You
No.
know, it's like someone will be telling us, but I'm so happy. And we're like, oh yeah, as soon as they leave, we're like, no, she's not happy. No. Definitely not happy.
Or we'll be like, are you sure? How's your mom? Huh? How's your relationship?
But then also, in some other ways, you think like there's people or couples that can't support their children or are living with somebody else because they can't live on their own. And I don't know that I can believe them when they stand there and say, but we're happy.
Yeah.
I personally don't know that I can believe that. So you ignore everything else. You ignore the fact that your significant other maybe isn't doing what he or she should be doing, that your kids are having to, live in somebody else's house, that they don't know what it's like to have their own place. Like, I don't know that I can believe that that's happiness. But there is people who say, if I'm outside living in a box, as long as I'm with so-and-so, I'm going to be happy. And maybe they are.
And it could be. I could understand that they could be like, well, we're happy. I guess I believe that happiness will be shown through what you're creating. You see happy kids. You see kids that are in this part of this relationship and they're well adjusted. I'm not saying that they're perfect or judged in a smart contest or anything like that, but they're well adjusted. Mm-hmm. So when these people say I'm happy, well then I expect well-adjusted kids, mm-hmm. or a well-adjusted partner,
mm-hmm. or a well-adjusted yes. the actual person that's saying yes. it. Because then this person that's actually saying it, sometimes they're like, it looks like you're going crazy.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how am I supposed to believe that you're happy if it looks like you're going crazy,
or that you're crying, and I understand being frustrated at a in a day in a month you're frustrated. Life is not going how things should be.
That happens to everyone.
But there's a joy. There's a joy in being well adjusted. Yes, life is not perfect, mm-hmm. but I'm doing as well as I can do. Mm-hmm. I'm pushing myself to the best that I can be, and I'm grateful for what's going on. Mm-hmm. But when the person is mad or sad mm-hmm. or cannot even have a normal job because of what's going on around them, then it's like, really? How is that being well?
There's really no way that you can be happy. And again, not that you would be happy if you had everything, because maybe they still wouldn't.
Yes.
But I think it's that, I guess to a certain point, how do you judge someone's happiness? What would that mean? Would that mean that they would look normal? Would that mean that they would have their own place? Does that mean that they'd have to own their home? Like, what does that mean? Does it mean none of those? But because I know I personally wouldn't be able to live in a box.
And I don't think I would either. But there's people who do. Believe me, I used to work by Skid Row, and there's some people that look pretty happy right there. So I guess it's finding your own joy.
Yeah, finding what makes you happy.
And at peace. And really, I think at the end of the day, and the biggest lesson that people push now, at least because I read all the quotes on Instagram, is you don't care what other people think. And I truly believe it.
But maybe that was pushed too much too. Because that's, and I think this is what I try to get to when I in the process of killing my children's soul, is that to a certain extent, you need to care. That I didn't make the rules. I didn't say that people were going to judge you. But at the end of the day, guess what? They are.
Yes.
It's just the way it is.
And the way you react to it.
It's, when my son grew his hair out because it was, the thing that he can do now because he was an adult. Yeah, that's fine. But people are going to think certain things about you. Mm-hmm. And now if you're okay with that, then okay. But be aware of that.
Yes.
And we do, to a certain extent, have to care. And that's unfortunately also where this new era, this new age of let me give you 500 million quotes on Instagram, which, you know, we do love quotes. We love quotes, but they give you all these quotes and again, and it's supposed to make you feel like, who cares what people think of me? No, I think we need to get back to caring what people think. If we got back to caring what people think, then it'd be a less, I feel, a less destructive world.
I think caring about people and caring about what they're going through and paying attention. And like I said, judgment works both ways. I believe in a relationship, if I'm fulfilled, if I'm happy in the way that I'm raising my kids, I have learned to be aware of people's judgment, but I do question myself, okay, do I believe I'm doing the right thing? Am I seeing my kids in a certain way that they're doing okay? Then I let it go. I hear you, but I still believe in what I believe. Mm-hmm. And that's fine. But we are supposed to care if someone, in our judgment, if I tell someone, you know what, I see that you're messing up, then I think that person should open up and say, let me listen to what you have to say.
Yes, maybe
because I'm not looking from the outside in.
I think we all need that constructive criticism.
Yes.
And it's not always super easy to take.
Yes.
But
it's
sometimes
never easy to take.
And sometimes, especially for the person, and everyone knows that person that's out there complaining.
Yes.
That's out there complaining, oh, my significant other is so and so, or he's this, or you constantly hear them argue, or he does this, he does that. But then at the end of the day, you're like, who cares what you say? I'm not gonna care that you don't like him, or I'm not gonna care that you're telling me I should leave, or I'm not gonna care, you know, that he's putting my children in danger, or anything like that.
So don't put it out there.
Yes.
Saying I don't care what people think is also living your life, not complaining. I don't think there would be complaining if you didn't care what people think. Mm-hmm. But a lot of times, I feel any complaint when I say, oh, you know what? My kid is not doing well in this. Or you know what? I'm angry because of this. I usually, my realistic opinions are always going to come from my sister. She's the only one that's going to tell me.
But because of that,
straight up.
Because of that, my siblings a lot of the times don't ask me. Nothing. They don't ask me questions.
We go through all the nice comments first.
Yes.
To people who are going to tell us nice things. And it's not only that they're always trying to cover up. A lot of times this is how they see life. Mm-hmm. This is their perception. But sometimes I need a real bounce back, then I have to ask her. And I always tell people, if I'm complaining about something, it's because I want to hear your opinion. Because we are not born knowing everything. Everything was learned. Because you fall and you learn, I'm gonna look at the bumps so I don't trip over there. But guess what? If it's a totally different thing, if you've never been a mother, then you do need to ask a mother, what am I doing wrong? From there and from reading and Google and Instagram and everything.
Yeah, now it's super easy because you can YouTube how to be a parent.
So you get what you want and you get what's gonna work for you. I completely understand that.
And I think that's what it's harder even with younger people. And I'm not talking like kids. I'm talking like younger, like these girls or in my case it's mostly girls because that's who I work with. But it's these young adults.
Yes.
And trying to get them to understand, I'm telling you this, not because I feel I'm better than you, not because I feel that I know more than you know, but because I've been through more than you have been through. Yes. I have lived a lot longer than you've lived. And so let me help you. Yes. I think part of our goal should be, let's make sure that the youth, not only our children, but the rest of the youth, doesn't make the mistakes that I made.
But the $1 million question, would you have listened if someone would have told to you?
Yeah, that's the problem. Which I still always believe that I would have. I believe that I would have listened to certain things, that I would have, certain things would have been different in my life if I would have had someone telling me something about it.
Yeah, and seeing them maybe if someone tells you, look, you don't need to put up with this. and you would have seen that they didn't put up with it. Because sometimes it's hard to hear it from people who have not gone through
or
it.
even as parents. To hear it from your parent, to say, you know what, I've been through this, or I know somebody that went through it. Don't do this. Don't do this, because this will happen. Yes. I think that it works wonders if it's actually done.
Which is one of the things of this also, at least for me. It's saying, I always tell people, my son tells me yesterday, he told me, you embarrass me when you talk so much about what I like and what I don't like. And I told him, you know what? I say it because you never know who's also going to like it, who's going to have something that maybe you want, who's gonna be able to have lived that experience to be able to talk to you about it.
Or discover you. Or just,
yes.
You're going to be famous.
Yes. But, and then he's like, you know what? You're right. I go, there's a lot of times you don't get a job because you don't go and talk to someone and say, this is what I know what to do. One of the good things that my mom told me, I remember growing up, was talk to a stranger. Because sometimes a stranger will listen to you more than someone you know. And I truly believe that if you talk to someone and tell them what's going on and tell them your problems or tell them what you have learned, that gets passed on. That's the way we can grab more people and help more people. You never know who can come to you and say, I don't know how to work, or I don't know where can I get food, or where can I get shelter, or what number can I call? And that's when you need to verbalize. A lot of the times we go through life saying, I don't want to tell that person because they're gonna get hurt. I don't want to talk to that stranger because I don't know them. I don't. So
then we think people don't want to hear it.
Yeah,
and sometimes they don't. But maybe you can just try. Maybe you will change
one person.
Yes, maybe something will click. I didn't have that quite in my early teens, or even a little closer to my later teens, but in definitely in my early 20s, I was very, very fortunate to have people in my life. Most of the time it wasn't strangers, but it was people in my life that were older, that were willing to give me constructive criticism, that told me things about life that I would have not otherwise have known. And I think it helped me so much. It helped me become who I became. It helped me realize certain things of how we were raised, because also being raised in a Latin home, being raised by a single mom, you're told that certain things have to be done a certain way, that you're pretty much being raised to take care of your parents. And I feel very fortunate enough to have people in my life that told me that's not the way you have to live, and that's not what you have to grow up to do. So,
and you do need that, and I could say that I didn't have that many people, but thank you, Oprah, Ricky Lake, and Jenny Jones, for raising me, because I had TV, and I really always tell people, you know what, when you don't have nothing, even in bad days, if I don't have nothing, thank you podcast, thank you Instagram, because there's always something motivational you can hear. There's always somebody's testimony you can hear. There's always somebody's lecture you can listen to. And exactly, it doesn't always have to be a Latina you have to listen to. You could listen to someone that's just a woman. Sometimes you just need advice on what being a woman is. You can learn how different ways of raising your children. I grew up and this is how the rules go. Immunizations. You give everybody immunizations. If it wasn't for TV and being open to learning other things, I wouldn't have been able to make the decisions I make for my children that are okay with me.
Yes, and I think it's part of knowing that you have that choice. That's it.
Knowing
at the end of the day,
choice.
You're not necessarily going to do what that other person's telling you to do. Did I do everything that everybody told me? Maybe not. I do believe in immunizations, but I also love the idea that I have a choice.
Yes, I think that's the key word.
That I can choose to do that. That I can choose not to do that.
Yes.
But
choice, that is, you know what, that is perfect. That's the perfect example. I think when we do not judge. I let's look for another word for that. But when we do talk to people and question them and tell them, but look, have you seen that you can do this way? Mm-hmm. Do you know that you don't have to stay married? At least for me, I don't believe that you have to. And yes, I've been through too. But you don't have to stay married. And people can't be parents without being married and being separated. And that's something that, at least in the Hispanic,
I think something as small as you don't have to have children.
Yes, you don't have
that
to have
you
children.
have that choice. Yes. That's already a big thing. You know, our younger sister chose not to have children. My mom still believes that she is going to change her mind. She's not going to change her mind. But she still believes that because my mom doesn't feel that that's a choice. No. And I think it's knowing that. Yeah. It's knowing we can choose what we want to do.
You can choose a different life. Mm-hmm. You do not have to always believe what your parents taught you. Because they only taught you what they learned. And
it's breaking a cycle. I think that's why so many poor people stay poor, and so many gang members stay gang members, and so many drug addicts stay drug addicts. It's because they don't realize I have the choice to raise my children differently. I have the choice to change.
And you can ask. Right now, I'm not really sure what day it was, but it was the day of Latina Equal Pay. Latina women get paid less than most women, and of course, women get paid less than men. Mm-hmm. And they were saying one of the things is that as women, as Latinas, and as women, we get told, be grateful that you have a job. Mm-hmm. And you never think you can go up to this person and say, but I think I'm worth
more money.
This money. And if I'm not, I can walk away because I can choose to go look for another job. And not even choose to get another job. I can also choose to create a job. I can choose to do this. And we are told always be grateful, be humble. Mm-hmm. And people kind of do not, I feel they have the wrong definition for these words.
And I think now that so hopefully it doesn't backfire on us either, because I think now that we're raising our children to believe you can do whatever you want, you can go and do whatever you want. Maybe let's not forget to still make them grateful and humble.
Yes. Grateful
because that might go away.
That you're always thankful for what you do have. And always know that of course, you can get more and you can have more. But at the moment, you do have to be grateful for what you have. And I always say, humble doesn't equal poor. Yes. Humble equals being the kind of person that said, I got out of this. Let me turn around and now help somebody else.
I think humble means caring.
Yes.
I think you can. Yeah, I think you can be super rich and still be super humble.
You can drive a good car.
Yeah, even if you were never poor. But and eventually one day we'll get into that too, because they make us feel bad for that, for having whatever we have. But you can definitely be humble. I always say I'm not the nicest person. I'm not. I'm not nice. No one's gonna believe I'm nice, and it's only because I'm honest that they don't believe I'm nice. Yes. But there is no doubt in my mind that I'm a kind person, that I do care for other people. And I don't feel that I need to be nice to do that.
And you also don't need to tell everybody what it is you do.
Yeah.
It's not humble. It's not something that someone has to label you with. Being humble is in your inner self. Me, because that's how I believe. In your inner self, believing, I do remember how hard it took me to get here, but regardless of where I live and what I have, and because of where I live and what I have, I'm gonna help whoever needs my help.
And I think one of my goals personally as well is helping people understand that, especially younger females, to understand that they have choices, that they don't have to grow up to be their parents, that they don't have to grow up and stay in the same cycle that they've been raised in. So I think with this podcast, so that we, in ending this podcast, I want to say, I think one of our goals is to get everyone thinking, of course, to get everyone to question other people but also to help people understand that they have a choice.
I think that's a great word.
Yeah,
that you have a choice. There's two sides to a coin. So why don't we look at both and then choose whichever one you like, and help us understand
why you chose that.
Why you chose that, and the other side, because maybe in certain subjects we're only looking at one side of the coin. So
true.
And a lot of times we ask people, and that was one of the big things. We ask people, so why do you think that? But people get offended if you ask them that. We do. I think that's where we have in common. We do want to listen to why do you think that? What brought you to that? Change my mind, and maybe I need to listen to that part. But at the end of the day, that was our goal, to be able to tell people you do have a choice. You can think differently. Help us understand you so we can make this a world where everybody's helping everybody.
Follow us on Instagram at Sisters with a Y. And let's go ahead and end this with a quote. Talk to people where they are, not where you think they should be.
Until next time.
Question you soon.